to the 5th subdivision of Elithani, Canada. Today's interview is regarding the Bill 104, that is the Tamil Genocide Education Week Act, with a young law degree holder, Gari Ravishankar. So, without further delay, let me welcome Gari. Hi, Gari. Thanks a lot for joining with us. And how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you, Auntie?
Thank you, Gari. And I'm doing fine too. Gari, why don't you give us a small intro about yourself?
It's a very easy question, but very hard to answer. Maybe I should start about, so I'm born and raised in Canada, but who I am today is because of my family. My family has been the biggest support system, and the reason why I even chose the career of law is because my grandfather wanted to become a lawyer one day, but unfortunately, due to financial situations, he couldn't achieve his dream. So I still remember before he passed away, that was his last saying. And so it was a part of me, and that's why I took this legal career. But before that, I finished my undergrad at York University, and I took a year off, I traveled, and that's when I landed a few internships with the UN, United Nations. And that's when I really found out about who I was. So the journey, I'm still learning about who I am, but in a short phrase, I'm a recent graduate of law school, and yeah, I'm thinking about the next steps now.
Who I am is a $1 million question for many saints in the human era. At the same time, remember, with your family, Tamil community also waiting for the youngsters like you to continue their marathon race. Well, first of all, I would like to ask you, what is Bill 104 and how did this become a law?
Okay, so this bill was actually created for a 7-day period ending on May 18th of every year. So it is called the Tamil Genocide Education Week. So just to give a little background information, this was first of all initiated by MPP Vijay Thanigasalam. He initiated this bill, which was then proposed as a draft proposal for a law. So in order for this bill to become an act, there were 5 steps. So I think there are more details along with it, but if I were to simplify it, I'll break it into 5 steps. So step number 1, the bill is presented in front of the House as they say the first reading. So this is what they call first reading. So this was proposed and presented to the House, and there were copies given to every MPP, and also it's posted online for online users, so for the public. So this allows everyone to get engaged with this bill, which ended up happening. And so the MPPs will talk about the strengths, and will also talk about the weaknesses, just to create some sort of debate in a sense. And this happened for this particular bill in April of last year. So 2019, April. This is when it happened. And then step number 2, the bill is read again. So they read it again, and they call this the second reading. So this second reading is held in the House once again. And this time, the MPPs, the member of provincial parliaments, are allowed to speak once again in a debate. So this is when they talk, remember the strengths and weaknesses I mentioned? They bring that together in a common ground and they discuss that. So they debate about the strengths. And then depending on how successful or if it's a failure, depending if it's a success, then they will think about if it's going to the third reading. In order for it to go to third reading, there will be a committee of different professionals. They sit all together and they talk about what's the pros and cons of this bill. And this happened back in May 2019. And then step number 3. So for this step, this is when they will realize if this bill is sent to a committee. So when the committee gets this opportunity, they will be allowed to review the evidence, call witness to testify. So what this means is they will bring any individual that may want to speak about certain stories that could make this bill even stronger. They will also talk about changes or amendments. So this is when I spoke about the weaknesses. This may be an opportunity for them to see how can we make this weakness into a strength. So that's when this is an opportunity when they talk about it. And once the changes are made, the bill is then sent back to the House. So this is where step number 4 comes. So this is that third reading that I mentioned, and this is the final debate. So then the speaker calls for a vote. So speaker is someone that's like in the middle of a house who sort of oversees the conversation. So they're like the neutral person in this situation. And so this happened back in May 2021 when the speaker asked for a vote. So this will either be a yay or a nay. So yes or no. That's what it is. And then step number 5, if there were enough yays, the bill will then be sent to the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. And our Lieutenant Governor at this current time is Elizabeth Dowdeswell. So she was the one who then signed who then will sign to give us royal assent. So we did get the royal assent for this bill, and this happened in May 12th, 2021. And this is how the Tamil Genocide Education Week Act 2021 became law.
Thank you so much, Gary, for your crystal clear explanation. As our next question, Gary, you know that Ontario became one of the first provincial government in the world to recognize genocide against Tamils in Sri Lanka. How do you see this?
First and foremost, I'm proud. That's the first thing that comes into my mind. I am proud to be a Canadian, but most importantly, I'm proud to be an Ontarian. Because having born and raised in this community, I'm not one little bit surprised that our Tamil community is where we are today. It's because of our hard work, our determination, and our willpower. Our willpower to do what is necessary to get us where we are. Like when you think about a community that's just come, like an immigrant community that just came a decade or 2 decades ago, look at where we are. Whether it's politically, whether it's legally, whether it's medically, whether it's scientifically, school boards, we're filled, we're there, and we're giving to the next generation. So we didn't just get this opportunity to be an amazing nation, but we're also contributing. So that's why I'm not surprised to the heights that we have reached in a short period of time. And to be honest, for the government of Ontario to listen to our needs now, that also gives me hope. So I'm proud, and it gives me hope because it gives me hope for the future. This is the beginning, like I mentioned earlier. It is the beginning, and it is a stepping stone for the next generation. And I promise you, in my gut feeling, within a decade, I could surely see other jurisdictions, so other governments, whether it's provincially or it's nationally, globally, I think other jurisdictions, other governments will follow this opportunity to educate their citizens about the Tamil genocide that we have faced as a community. So to answer your question in the short form, yes, I'm proud, but I do see a longer journey ahead, and there's more to achieve in this process.
Well said. Yes, as you mentioned, in 1 or 2 decades, Tamils should climb at least few steps on their long journey, and that's all depend on our youngsters' hands. More to this, as a law student, how do you see this will impact us politically and legally?
Very good question. For one, it will encourage other communities to learn more about us. So I think that's very important. At the end of the day, we can speak as much as we want, but we need to understand whether people are listening to us as well. So this is going to create that conversation. So in terms of whether this is politically or legally going to make any changes, potentially there's a high potential. But I do believe that these conversations regarding political or policy making changes will will happen in the future. And that's what's crucial for upcoming laws. So yes, this bill became an act, but there are way more that we should achieve as a community. So as a law student, that's how my mind is triggered. And so I do think it's a stepping stone. But at the same time, secondly, I don't believe this bill will solely allow the next generations to have countless opportunities. So I don't think that this bill itself is going to give us so many opportunities, but I do believe this bill will create connections that will lead us to different projects, different opportunities, conversations with our community. So, like I said before, this is first of many steps, and it's our chance to come together. We need to come together in this opportunity. It shouldn't just be, oh, it was a bill that was passed in 2021, but it's about the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, what we can do with this act. And many people say, I don't want to get involved in politics because I don't want to become a politician. I strongly, respectfully disagree, only because just because you're involved in political talks don't make you a politician. In fact, our lives, whether you want to be a nurse, you could be a teacher, or you could be an architect, everything that you are working towards for your family or yourself revolves around the politics, whether it's federally, municipally, or even provincially, right? So we need to have these conversations even if we're not comfortable with it. So I hope we create conversations that make us have uncomfortable conversations, but make it comfortable in a sense. I hope you understand that point.
Yes.
And it is very important to start now getting, well, you don't have to be politically involved, but you could get into grassroots conversations about the policy makings that these political parties are doing. So there are many political parties in Canada, and I think we should, instead of just looking at the candidate who's a face, which is important because they're going to advocate for your constituent. But it's also important for us to take a step back and look at and read and understand what these political parties are bringing forward. Because once you vote and elect a political party, that for the next 4 years, it's going to be what they say. So I think it's very important for us to get these conversations started today, not for tomorrow.
I'm very pleased to hear from you about how common man is reacting towards politics. Meanwhile, if Tamil people would like to convey their 7 decades thirst, then they have to let younger generation to get involved with politics. Number 2, crown them in policy-making positions. Anyhow, at last, what would you want to say to the youngsters about this bill?
Okay. This is just the beginning. So I really want us to take a moment to reflect, be proud of how far we've come, but take a moment and reflect. Where can we go? How can we utilize this bill? And the moment we question ourselves, we start reflecting. And so one of my mentors mentioned this to me one day and said, Gary, sometimes you may get lost in the process. You may get lost in your journey, but always take a step back and ask this one question. So I want to ask you this one question. What is your purpose? What is your purpose goes a long way. That will tell you who you are, what you would like to do, and then we'll open up doors to how you will work together as a community. And so I want us to ask that one question. And hopefully, if you get an answer, even if it's the smallest little bit of an ingredient, or some sort of motivation, bring it forward. Use social media. We use phones all the time. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This is in our hands for free. So use your followers, use your connections, post it on your story and say, hey, I have this idea. Anyone interested? Simple question can lead to someone else, right? So projects are crucial, but sometimes, as myself, when I say project, I just think about school and I get scared. Oh my God, marks. Am I going to fail? Am I going to do well? No. You could either, one, go with your passion. which is very important. I believe in that to a whole extent. When you have passion, you don't give up. You're going to have failures, but when you have passion, you will think about the next step. You will get back up and do the next. So have passion. Number 2, be strategic. I think sometimes we get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, we need to start from fresh, from the start. No, I think we have a lot of resources that people have dedicated their lives or their career for a purpose. So maybe it's time to give them the credit, but also use that as a foundation to grow up. And so to build that creativity in a sense, my suggestion would be, if you want to be a little bit more strategic, maybe thinking above and beyond, internationally, for example. Just for the viewers, as my opinion, I would suggest look into the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030. So they say UN SDG 2030. Search that on Google if you don't know yet. You will see 17 different goals. So it ranges from poverty to water to pollution, and most importantly for myself that I connect with is gender equality. So for example, you may have an idea. If you can incorporate one of the 17 goals associating with your idea, your project, maybe one day right now it could be a local project, but maybe a few months from now or a few years from now, it could be an internationally known, and who knows, the UN may even adopt that project or sponsor that project for their platform, right? So I think it's time we think above and beyond. We should reach the sky, not knowing the limits. And so, yes, this is just the beginning, but I would hope that after this this video, we could start taking those small steps. Start today. Ask that question. What's my purpose? Second, maybe you could have a conversation with Amma, Appa, or even your friends, family, across you, your colleagues, whoever is in front of you. It could be someone out at the bus. Does not matter. Have that conversation. And believe me, sometimes you meet the right connections at the right time when you have conversations. So I really hope this one conversation may spark others. So get ready to talk, get ready to debate, and get ready for our future, because it's looking really bright for us. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gary. It is an excellent, informative interview, and I'm truly proud to have you. Furthermore, I'm sure Elutani will meet you soon with another interview. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a great day.
Viewers, I will meet you soon with another interesting topic. Until then, signing off is Nalini Mutlingam. Good luck.